Hello and welcome to a presentation on the Maori religion. According to the Maori, the first explorer to reach New Zealand was Cook. Using the stars and the ocean currents as navigational guides, he ventured across the Pacific on his wakahura, a voyaging canoe, from his ancestral Polynesian homeland of Hawakiki. It is thought that Cook made a landfall in Hokinga Harbour in the Northland, around 1,000 years ago. Cook saw New Zealand on his adventures. When he saw the good vegetation, he decided to migrate his whole tribe to New Zealand. When the first Polynesian tribe migrated to New Zealand, they also brought with them their beliefs. Maori were expert hunters and fishermen. They wove fishing nets from harakiki, flax, and carved fish hooks from bone and stone. They hunted native birds including the moa, the world's largest bird, with a range of indigenous traps and snares. Maori cultivated the land and grew and introduced new vegetables from Polynesia, including the kumara, sweet potato. They also ate native vegetables and roots and berries. Weave flax baskets were used to carry food, which is often stored in pataka, a storage warehouse raised on stilts. Their culture stresses the importance of a sophisticated religion and has a mythological structure that emphasizes spiritual matters as highly significant. The Maori creation myth has several variations that slightly differ from each other in either length or minor details. However, major themes and characters are evident in all versions, thereby maintaining the central homogeneity between various accounts. Aya is known as the supreme being, and Ixnillia, out of nothing, creator of the entire universe. He created Ranjui, Rangi, and Papa Tukanaku, Papa, the Sky Father and Earth Mother, respectively. The sky and earth produce numerous offspring, while they are physically cleaved together in a protective embrace. The children are forced to live in darkness since their parents block all rays from the sun. They soon become restless and worn out from the living conditions, gather to question whether to separate their parents or to kill them for more room and light. The feces of the offspring, Tutanega, Tuma, voices the opinion for death, while Tainmatu, Tain, wishes to separate his mother and father so that the earth will remain close as our nursing mother. Most of the sons, including Tuma, finally agree with the plan for separation with major dissenting vote from only one sibling, Tauinhameta. As the guardian of winds and storms, he fears that his kingdom will be overthrown if the parents are torn apart. In the minority, Tauinhameta remains silent and holds his breath. The children begin to divide Rangi and Papa. They soon realize the task is very difficult to accomplish. After many siblings attempt to separate the parents, Tain finally succeeds as he places his shoulders against the earth and his feet against the sky. He pushes slowly and with both his upper and lower body with great strain. Soon and yet not soon, for time was vast, the sky and earth began to yield. The Earth Mother and Sky Father bleed, and this gives rise to the orca, or red clay, the sacred color of the Maoris. As the parents cry out for Toma to stop, he only presses on harder. Sky Father and Earth Mother's blood spills on his head. This is known as Kokawi, the sacred red earth that is created when the first blood spills at the dawn of time. Now that the separation is complete, there is clearly defined sky and earth. One of the offspring, Uru Tengana, states that one element is still missing. He urges his siblings to find a few more elements, Iri Tangara, to enable the search of the woman. The search spans both land and sea, and Tain finally consults his mother Papa for advice and knowledge. The earth takes pity on Tain and tells him to search an area named Kuruwaka. Tain returns to his siblings with new insight as they travel to the location. The children find the element in earth and dig it out to contribute in the creation of woman and her form. The elder siblings shape the body and the younger siblings add the flesh, fat, muscles, and blood. Tain then breathes life into it and creates Hain Ahuwan, the earth-formed maiden. This overview of the Maori creation story gives a broad insight into their culture and traditions. The physical landscape is mentioned numerous times with Sky Father and Earth Mother. The Maoris have a deep cultural and spiritual relationship with the entire landscape of New Zealand that goes back hundreds of years. As an indigenous culture, many activities are centered on the tribes, sub-tribes, and extended family units. The relationship between lands and families is important as it plays a major role in their everyday lives. The creation story heavily emphasizes elements of nature such as wind and water. It is not surprising that most Maori settlements are near coastal terraces. Fishing in freshwater environments is a significant part of Maori culture and is one of their major food sources. To further explain natural phenomena such as raining and dew in the morning, the creation myth references separation of the earth and sky. Even apart, Rangi and Papa love each other so much that the father briefly floods part of the land with an immense amount of tears. The establishment of Aya, the supreme being in Maori creation myth, is either mentioned very briefly or not at all. Therefore his existence is ambiguous and mysterious. A similar account can be examined in hymns of Rig Veda. In the beginning there was darkness. All this was unmanifested water, whatever was one coming into being. Both stories are unclear as to who was truly first creator, and how did this person come to being. In this essence, both originators are ex nihilo individuals. The Maori creation myth has two major parts as seen before. First it describes the Earth Mother and Sky Father procreating many children that eventually separate the parents due to lack of space and sunlight. Then the story concludes with the making of the Earth-form maiden, from elements of the earth, clay, and worked by many children to add life. This is implied that all Maoris are descended of this first woman and male, offspring of the Earth Mother and Sky Father. In traditional Polynesian societies, tribal life was centered around an area of sacred space. In this area, various rituals could be carried out involving song, dance, chanting of sacred formula, and the drinking of kava. The sacred space could also serve as a community meeting place and in particular as a place of discussion and decision-making for the community elders. The rituals elements carried out intended to provide means of ensuring the safe ordering of society and to avoid causing any offense to the gods. The communal discussion and decision-making dimensions are intended to ensure appropriate adherence to ethical codes within society. In Polynesian society, a number of sacred houses exist for different purposes. One serves as a priestly sanctuary. The sacred house also served as a sanctuary for exiles. Women and children could also take shelter there in times of war. Another type of sacred house existed as a shelter to the tomb of local nobility. Another important sign in Tongan society was a meeting place known as Fel Fataka. This house would normally have tiled structure where people would be seated according to their status. It would be used for ceremonial kava drinking as well as community meeting and other important village gatherings. The history of New Zealand dates back at least 700 years to when it was discovered and settled by Polynesians who came from surrounding islands of Oceania and then developed distinct Maori culture centered on kinship links and the land. New Zealand is found in South Oceania and is surrounded by different Polynesian islands who all have different tribes. The Maori people had no form of economy. As they were a hunting-gathering group, they shared most of their game. In the Maori mythology, the heavens are divided into a number of realms. Different tribes have different number of realms. With a few tribes, there are as much as 14 levels of heaven. One of the more common versions of divided heaven are the Kikorangi, presided over by the god Tumau; Wakamaru, the heaven of sunshine and rain; Nagaturoto, heaven of lakes where god Maru rules; Hauora, where the spirits of newborn children originate; Negatora, home of the servant gods; Nagaota, where there is ruled over by the hero Tawaki; Otuia, where human souls are created; Okima, where spirits live; and Wakura, where the spirit gods live while waiting on those in Neghira or Tahira, where the great gods live presided over by Rahuya. The Maori believe that these heavens are supported by pillars. Other Polynesian people otherwise see them being supported by gods. The 9 heavens are further divided into left and right. Each stage is associated with a stage of the evolution of the earth in its portrayal below. The lowest division represents a period where the heavens hung low over the earth, which is inhabited by animals that are not known to the islanders. In the third division, it is shown as the Mura, the first burials, and the first canoes built by Rata. In the fourth division, the first coconut tree and other significant plants are born. Hell is not established in the Maori religion. However, some tribes of the Polynesian faith choose to believe that after death, if a person has displeased the gods, he is passed on to an eternal plane, or oblivion, in an unstratified world. In the Maori religion, Gods are usually personified as an aspect of nature. Most gods are male figures, however, the female principle is fairly evident in Papa, the Earth Mother. The gods of the Maori religion are not characterized as being benevolent or malevolent. There is no good aspect nor a bad aspect to them. The common feature of the supernatural beings of the Maori religion is a tendency to reproduce with the human partner. The offspring of these unions are regarded as the ancestral heroes of the modern human beings. Stories of hero figures depict them in activities overcoming tyranny and oppression. Maui and Tauhaki are two prominent examples of hero figures. The actions seen in the mythological heroic stories are allegories to the actions required of human beings today. The descendants of these mythological heroes are said to be the chief leaders of every tribe. They have a moral obligation to provide for the well-being of their subjects. In the Maori tradition, Papa Tunaku is the Earth Mother, or the Lady God. She is the earth figure who gives birth to all things including people. Trees, birds and people are all born from the land, which nourishes them. Some say that the land first emerged from underwater. In the Maori creation story, we are introduced to Papa Tuanaku and her many children that she had with Ranjuini, the Sky Father. Their children pushed them apart to let in the light. The children had more children, including birds, fish, winds and water. They became the ancestors of everything we know today. In the mythological stories of the Maori of New Zealand, Rangi is the Sky Father, or God of the Sky. He was also known as a Raki by the Ngatu tribe of South Island of New Zealand. He fell in love with Papa, the Earth Mother, and embraced her at a time when it was only darkness. There were numerous offspring to their union, such as Humia, Rongo, Tain, Tangora, Tawahiri, and Tu, the other gods. But these, as well as plants and fruits, were prevented from growing on Earth by the tightness of the embrace of Rangi and Papa. To cure the situation, the other gods separated two lovers. Some variation of these myths say that the separation was carried out on orders by Rangi himself. When they were separated, light was created and the plants could grow. Ngatu said that in the morning dew of the tears of Rangi, for his beloved Papa in the mists of the sigh of Papa for Rangi. In Maori mythology, Tain, also called Tain Mahatu or Tain Nui Rangi, which translates to Tain, son of Rangi, and several other names, is the god of forests and of birds, and the son of Rangunui, and Papa Tuanaku, the Sky Father and Earth Mother respectively, who lie in tight embrace. Their many children live in darkness between them, as seen in the Origins myth. The children of Rangi and Papa grew frustrated at the confinement in the cramped space between the parents. Tu, the future god of war, proposes that they should kill the parents, but Tain disagrees, suggesting that it's better for them to separate them. Sending Rangi into the sky and leaving Papa below to care for them, Tain's brothers Rongo, Taganoa, and Homa Tuanaki and Tu all try in vain to separate the parents. After many tries, Tain lies on his back and pushes with his strong legs, and finally forces his parents apart. And Rangi rises into the heavens, and then Tain searches for heavenly bodies with lights so that his father would be appropriately dressed. He obtained the stars and threw them up along the moon and the sun. At last, Rangi looked handsome. Tahirumatia, the god of storms and winds, is angry that his parents have been torn apart. He joins his father in the sky and punishes the earth and sea with violent storms. Tahirumatia attacks the forest of Tain, snapping the trunks of trees, shattering the trees to the ground, leaving them as food for decay and insects. Then he attacks the oceans, and Tangaroa, the god of the sea, flees. Two of Tangaroa's descendants, Ikatiri, father of fish, and Tui Tuaniki, or Tituwanawana, the ancestor of reptiles, are terrified by the Tuharmatia fury. The fish flee into the sea and reptiles into the forests, ever since Tangaroa has resented Tain for hiding his runaway children. So it is Tain supplies the descendants of Tomagana with canoes, fishhooks, and nets to catch descendants of Tangaroa. Tangaroa retaliates by overturning canoes and sending floods that sweep away houses, land, and trees. Rituals were held in many different natural places. Natural heritage places may be natural features associated with traditional activities, example springs, trees, swamp caves, etc., or a natural landmark, example mountain, river, land, sea, lake, village, etc., where no human activity is evident. Each sacred place is linked to either a god or mythological event, in which case an image of the god is placed next to it. For example, the sea is linked to Tangaloa, the god of the sea. Hence, an image of Tangaloa is placed next to a sacred sea. The most significant ritual practiced among the Polynesian societies is the kava ceremony. There is virtually no occasion in the Polynesian society which does not incorporate a kava ceremony. This ceremony is a traditional ritual of welcome and acknowledgement of the status of visitors and particular dignitaries. The kava ceremony involves the ritual drinking of a beverage from crushed root of the kava plant. The kava is served in a cup and often made of a coconut shell, with the beverage drawn from central carved wooden or stone bowl. The most highly esteemed person present is first presented with the kava to drink, and then with due ceremony the kava is then shared by each person according to their social status. The kava ceremony has its origins in the kava noa, who was sacrificed in offering to the king. Her grave became the source of the kava plant. Other rituals included the tua. Babies were named after the navel cord which was severed, also called the tua rite, was performed in a place where the child was born. Another is the tohi ceremony, which is followed by the tua rite. It was performed at a sacred stream. Children were dedicated to a particular god or at the tohi ceremony. The final ritual, which ensured the child's establishment, is the pure ceremony. The pure rite, which is followed by the tohi rite, this made the child's spiritual powers or mana permanent. Adults who had taken part of the tohi and pure rites then underwent a process of wakanoa, or removal of the tapu. At the ceremony, it is conducted near a latrine or a stream. Myths and stories of the gods and ancestors figures provide understanding of the relationship to the environment. Life in Polynesian societies has also traditionally been aligned to the oceanic environment and also the agricultural lifestyle. Images of Polynesian deities and stories of the exploits are therefore also closely aligned to the aqua and agricultural environments. Many of the gods are depicted in elements and environments and according to their exploits determine important aspects of human interaction with the environment. Stories of the gods also play a significant part as it gives their adherents an example of how to live their daily lives. Examples of this interaction can be readily seen with the practices undertaken to ensure favorable dispositions of the gods which determine the fertility of the land. Polynesian communities seek to live in harmony with the divine forces in the natural world, as seen with their rituals, and ensure their own happiness as well as being. Elements in the stories of the ancestors' heroes provide an ethical framework for life. Ethical demands are distilled from the reflection of various elements of an oral tradition which tells of the liberating exploits of ancestral heroes. Myths and stories of ancestral figures provide understanding of the relationship to the environment. Many of the gods are depicted in elements for the environment according to their exploits, determine important aspects of human interaction with the environment. The traditions of gods have significant impact on daily life of Polynesian communities through the interaction with the environment. Polynesian communities learn to live in harmony with divine forces in their natural world and ensure their own happiness and well-being. Ethical demands are distilled from reflection on various elements of oral tradition which tells of the liberating exploits of ancestral heroes.